Hi there, this is Outdoor Gear Chat. Welcome to episode 68. We're talking sports watches today. I'm joined as always by Cathy. Hi, Cathy.
Hi, Wayne. I am Cathy, the owner or co-owner and director of the Climate Shop in Ambleside and the Joe Brown Shops in Snowdonia. And we are talking today. I'm a little nervous about this subject because it is not my forte, tech, have to say. I am a map and compass girl first and foremost, but I have recently ventured into the world of tech, and I've been pretty impressed. So I'm absolutely delighted that we are joined today by Suunto UK Marketing Manager Dan Southam. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no need to be nervous about tech, Cathy. It's we bring it to market to make it easier, more accessible, and definitely safer out in the mountains. So yeah, glad that you're embracing tech. And whilst we'll never leave the compass, the humble compass behind, we are here to try and make people's lives a little bit easier and a little bit safer. So yeah, looking forward to getting stuck into it and. Yeah, informing the audience on all things Suunto for those that have been long-time fans and for those people that may never heard of Suunto. We are, yeah, hopefully going to talk through some things today that, that help people understand the brand a little bit more.
And,
Yeah, sure.
we've got some anecdotes, I think, haven't we? We were just talking, was it yesterday or the day before, Cathy, about various situations we find ourselves in recently, which was helped by having another tool in the box, for want of a better phrase. But I am a long-time fan of Suunto. I had a Suunto Ambit for 12 years, something like that, I think, only recently replaced by he says we're wafting his Suunto vertical in the camera, and I absolutely love it. But the Ambit I would bet my life on it being bomb-proof. I had all sorts of things, including sledgehammers dropped on it, and it survived. I think in all that time it just had a scratch. So they are very sturdy pieces of kit, aren't they?
Well,
Yeah,
I'm
that
glad you mentioned
Oh,
the
God.
compass actually, Dan, because Suunto did actually start off with compasses. It's not a new company, is it? I mean, the tech that Suunto is bringing out is state of the art. It's awesome. But the company is 80 years old and it's based in Finland. And they were known for their precision compasses straight away. But I think it was 1998 where the Suunto Vector came out and just was a complete game changer. In fact, I was just chatting with my husband Paul before we came on air because he's on his fourth since his original 1998 Suunto Vector. He's got a little collection of his watches and he's currently on a Race X. Yeah, an incredible long and distinguished history. But I wonder if you could just give us a really brief bit of information about that and tell us about the sustainability of the brand as well, Dan.
Yeah, for sure. And I think some of those points that you mentioned there and anecdotes are something that we see a lot when we talk to consumers about people that have had product that's really stood the test of time, and that really plays into what we're all about as a company. And like you said, kind of from a sustainability element, I'll come on to that shortly. But yes, started in 1936, founded by a guy called Thomas Volanen out in Finland, and he was basically a little bit bothered by the inaccuracy and lack of steady needle operation on a traditional dry compass, which led him to invent and kind of go on to mass produce a liquid filled compass with a much steadier needle and kind of much better readings and kind of unlocked a new level of accuracy. And that then led to multiple variations of our compasses being used across the war. And Wayne, you saying about them being pretty much bulletproof, we actually one of kind of like the best anecdotes that we like to talk about from a brand point was a Finnish soldier, Lieutenant Norbak, was actually shot by a Russian sniper during the Winter War in 1939, and his M311 field compass actually took the bullet in his shirt pocket
No way.
and saved his life. And that's really since then been the hallmark of Suunto and the robustness of our product that they are literally bulletproof.
Yeah, wow.
Which
That's
Wow.
some claim. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, so and then like you said, we kind of went through the 40s, the 50s, the 60s with various different introductions of compasses, and it was 1965 that Suunto introduced the SK4, which was the first diving compass, which was a really, really important part in our timeline. There was a British sports diver that took the Suunto Cumbus underwater and realized that it actually worked perfectly for navigating underwater, and kind of that really then launched, with his feedback and his initiative, what is now Suunto diving. So we've kind of got a few sort of trailblazers that go back, kind of across the timeline of our history. But yeah, the kind of the founding of it in the 30s, and then in 1965, the kind of introduction to the dive side of the business is really helped us come to be the brand that we are today. And then, like you say, the Suunto Vector coming out in 1998, we still actually have a few Vector wearers in our head office. They're now kind of seen as a bit of a fashion statement, especially the one with the yellow disc around the bezel. But that was really kind of the introduction of what we refer to as the ABC watches now that kind of pan across our range, and that refers to the altimeter, barometer, and compass features that are within what is a pretty traditional looking sports watch. And then bringing right back up to kind of modern day now, we've had multiple iterations of dive computers, dive watches, outdoor watches that feature all of the ABC properties. And then, yeah, right up until kind of modern day now, where we have the Race S, the Vertical, and the Race as kind of our figureheads of our outdoor lineup. And yeah, I think it's a pretty robust lineup. Hopefully very easy for the consumer to understand which watch appeals to them and their activities. And from an outdoor perspective, like I say, the Race and the Race S and the Vertical are really kind of the pinnacle watches in that lineup. And then you mentioned on the sustainability element, we kind of focus on three core elements across Suunto, and that's the economic, the social, and the environmental impact that we have as a brand. And when we're talking about the outdoors, obviously the environmental impact is super important, and like we've discussed, the longevity of those products that we're bringing to market. Unfortunately, we're in a world now where fast tech is almost talked about as much as fast fashion, in that some brands out there, once you've done 3 updates on your piece of tech, it starts to fail, and that unfortunately means there's a very high turnover in tech, and things like batteries and lithium ending up in landfill, which, as we know, is incredibly harmful for the environment. And Suunto as a brand, our playing field is the mountains and the forests and the waters of the world that we need to protect. So environmental impact is huge huge focus for us as a brand. And then from a social impact, making sure our employees are encouraged and rewarded with things like work-life balance. It's incredibly important for us as a brand. We're promoting people to get out into the mountains, and that starts with our own staff. If they don't have a work-life balance, then we're instantly falling at the first hurdle in trying to encourage people to experience what the world has to offer. And we do things like social audits to confirm that our suppliers comply with our own ethical policy, which again helps us keep on top of that social impact. And then from an economic perspective, we're a Finnish company, like you mentioned, and we kind of pride ourselves on always having quality driven design. And I think the Nordics as a whole are very kind of famous for the design of their products. And then the innovation as well. There's some kind of huge Finnish brands in the tech space, brands like Nokia, that have been kind of known over the years as innovation, and making sure that we're balancing not only profit as a company, but being a fair partner throughout the value chain and making sure that's distributed across all areas of the business. So yeah, environmental, social, and economic elements kind of really encompass everything we're trying to do from a sustainability element as a brand.
I guess as we've both given those examples of how long our products have lasted, that helps that sustainability message, doesn't it? It's far from fast tech, fast fashion almost. I was very pleased to display my watch that had survived for years, as I'm sure Paul is in Cathy's case. Yeah, they just do last and go on, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. And I think one thing I'm always conscious of, trying to get across to a consumer that's maybe in a buying decision for a new piece of tech, is that if we release a new watch in 2 years' time that has a software update, as long as your current watch is capable of accepting that software update, we will push that as far back down our back catalogue as possible, without causing any kind of lasting effects on how that watch then performs. So we're not in the business of you buying a watch this year and then in 2 years' time you need to upgrade that. And we want your watch to stand the test of time. And I think hopefully as a consumer that's something that's appreciated in a world where turnover of product is ever getting quicker.
Definitely, definitely, yeah. As a direct consumer, I'd say, yeah, I do appreciate that. So that, yeah. So that's some stuff about you as a company, and can we just move on to talk to some of the talk about some of the functionality of the watches? And I mean, I've got to start with mermaiding, which is one of the functions on the vertical, because but I got mine as a result of a swim that I was doing, and yeah, from Cathy's shop, and yeah, one of the first things I think you said to me was make sure it's on mermaid in mode or something like that, wasn't it? So, but yeah, I guess just describe some of the functionality that's available in it and how all of that works, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. And you kind of pick up straight away there on sports mode. We can track over 100 different sports modes, one of which is mermaiding. But everything
Can
from
we just
your
clarify what mermaiding is, actually? I mean, it's come up so many times in conversation with various people within the trade. It's like, oh, have you found the mermaiding function? Everyone's all over it. What is mermaiding?
Yeah, so mermaiding is a form of swimming where you basically attach a single fin to both feet, as opposed to having like individual fins or flippers, however you want to term them. Yeah, you essentially put both feet into one single fin, which yeah then makes you look like and swim like a mermaid. So yeah, there are parts of the world where that kind of technique is used in things like free diving.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, that is like I say, one of over 100 sports modes that we track, and I think that our focus is definitely on the outdoors. So things like trail running, hiking, gravel biking, mountaineering, multi-day eventing. We have a multi-sport mode as well. So for the triathletes out there. So you can pretty much track every sport you can imagine. I didn't even know there was 100 sports, let alone being able to track all of them.
Is
But
golf on there? I'm not saying that golf isn't a sport.
so you
But
can track golf as a sport. We don't
yeah,
have the kind of GPS mapping like
yeah,
some kind of more focused golf specific watches
right.
do supply, just because it's not really a focused sport for us at the moment. But
Sorry, that was a naughty question, Dan. I didn't.
all
Sorry, I was.
good.
Oh no, I know. Sorry, that was yeah, yeah. And I mean, you mentioned there that all the outdoor sports, but it also does a good job of tracking my pool swimming as well. So
Yes.
yeah, it does. Yeah, which has surprised me because yeah, the other tech that I've worn indoors hasn't worked as well as this particularly does. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
good.
and like I say, as much as we're focused on the outdoor, there's a lot of sports out there that people take part in, whether it's in the gym, like you say, in the pool, things like treadmill running and static bike. We need to be able to track because it's part of people's everyday life. Whether you're a mountaineer or a trail runner, people are also taking part in other sports. So um, we kind of we kind of have a focus on making sure the key components of a sports watch we do incredibly well, and then we will add in the features that your kind of standard smartwatch would have, things like getting your text notifications, your email
Mm,
notifications, that kind of stuff. But we're not trying to take on the world of Apple or Samsung in their smartwatch features, just because we need to ensure that things like battery life, mapping, and navigation
Yeah.
are absolutely the best they can be before we worry about kind of features that I sometimes term as like vanity features.
mm.
They're the features that you'll tell your friend down the pub that your watch has, but whether you use them or not is a different story. So and like I mentioned, mapping and navigation
Mm.
there is a huge part of our
Yeah.
business. And I always kind of think if we did that bad as a compass brand, that would be a little bit embarrassing if we got navigation wrong. But things like free worldwide mapping is a huge selling point for us.
Yeah.
You can download offline maps from
Yeah.
wherever you are in the world, and the vast majority of our watches are capable of huge map storage within the watch. And we actually had somebody recently say they managed to download the entire map of Canada onto their watch and still have storage left.
No
So
way.
quite why you'd need the entire
I
map
was
of
just going to
Canada.
say, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
But
yeah. Why? But yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Brilliant that it does. Yeah.
yeah. But for example, I have the whole of the UK stored on my watch, and it takes up about 2 gig of the 32 gig of storage.
Yeah. Well.
So that's a huge selling point for us. We now know that kind of like the outdoor and travel tourism is a big part, especially in the UK. Whilst we have some incredible mountains, there's people out there that want to do things like hiking the Appalachian Trail or getting out to Patagonia, out to Nepal. And we actually got pictures through this week of a friend of the brand who'd summited Everest for the 6th time and had his a nice picture of the vertical at the top of Everest. So we yeah, navigation and mapping is a huge selling point. There's no additional subscription for that. It's all free of charge when you buy the watch, and there's loads of amazing features that can support that through the Suunto app as well. So if you're doing a trail race or a hike and you've got a GPX file for that, it's really easy to get that onto your watch and then have it navigate you through. Cathy, I know you've experienced that kind of usage, and I think
and that's
from
what we were talking about this week, actually. Was that, it was exactly that.
I mean, I did talk with Dan about this and explain I am the low bar when it comes to this. So I'm a very good test reference. And I was most excited that I managed to plot a route on my app, add in some, oh no, I didn't put waypoints in straight away, but I plotted my route and uploaded it to my watch, and also emailed the GPX to my friends who were coming out with me as well, and they just downloaded it onto theirs. And I did all of that without the aid of my 15-year-old. So that was an absolute win for me. So if I can work it out and do it and not try and throw my watch out of the window in frustration, it is a really easy thing to use. And I think the other thing I found with the bezel being needing to use glasses, like if I pick up a map now, if I've got it close to me, that I can't see it. If it's held a fair distance away, I can work it out. But actually using the bezel on the watch, which isn't oversized, I've got quite a small wrist, but you can just zoom in, and that makes navigation so much easier. And having it as a backup, and just like, right, I know where I am on the map. Let's just, oh, hang on, there's a path junction here. I can't quite make it out. Let's just check. Boom, I can just open it up on my watch, a couple of taps, I'm in the right place. Or no, I've got to backtrack 10 meters, whatever, in that will get me in the right way. Or as happened coming out of an accommodation one night, we set off perfectly down the line. It was just in the wrong direction.
Back the way you came.
And it does change colour to tell you.
Yeah, and I think in regards to that, I think that's one of the most kind of important things around having wearable tech over a traditional map and compass. We've had multiple people that have been out, whether it's in a trail race or on a multi-day hike, where weather conditions have meant visibility is incredibly low, and when you're kind of only 1 or 2 meters from kind of an edge of a path that could end in disaster, being able to just look down at your watch and know that you're still on track, as opposed to, I think sometimes when you're, especially through the night of a trail race or similar kind of pursuit, you're kind of like disorientation, and maybe you've been on your feet for hours. You're kind of, the bit of brain fog that you get can really be the difference between life and death. And I know that sounds dramatic, but just being able to look down at your watch and know that you're still heading in the right direction, and not try and have to work out kind of like where exactly you are on the map and which exact path that you're taking, I think is a really important, from a safety element, and kind of having things like a barometer measuring air pressure. We have a storm warning on our watches, so if you're out on the mountains, it will alert you kind of like 10 to 15 minutes before a storm hits, which should hopefully be enough time for people to find shelter. And just having those kind of like safety features on a piece of tech, you're not going to get a storm warning from a map and a compass, unfortunately. And you can probably see the clouds rolling in, but knowing the kind of severity of what's about to hit can, again, can be the difference between a nice experience in the mountain and then a very unpleasant experience in the mountain.
And I think I'd had something like that experience with mine once. It was like suddenly, the watch started, going off somehow anyway, and then like, what's that all about? And then you look up, and sure enough, you see the weather moving towards you, and you're like, all right, okay, best get a jacket on and then get out of here fairly rapidly. It wasn't a pleasant experience, and my experience of of using the navigation function was in Tenerife just before Christmas. Was we were in the mountains and I downloaded something from via a guidebook, got the GPX file onto my watch, and it was absolutely brilliant. I was saying to Cathy, there were two occasions, one where you sort of on a little bit of a mountain ridge, and you're like, I'm not sure where the path goes, and have a look over the edge, and it was almost like it was a goat trail actually that was going down. And then another time in a village, and we're like, look, well, where's the path go? Oh, there's this tiny alleyway over there, and it was, the watch was pointing me there, but until we'd got to like literally level with it, we couldn't see anything. But I think would have walked past it with a map and compass, or been gawping around looking like a lost English tourist, unsurprisingly. And so there's other sort of mountain related features that you've got within them. So you mentioned the altimeter as well within that, which I must admit is not something that I understand, but or have used. But just describe that for us, Dan.
Yeah, so from an altimeter perspective, we use three different types to determine altitude. So we've got the barometric sensor that I mentioned previously, and that will measure air pressure to estimate elevation. We then have GPS, which will use your satellite data to calculate the altitude based off of where you are on the map. And then we have a combination of the two called fused alti, which combines both for improved accuracy. So like I said, the barometer will be measuring your air pressure, then the GPS using satellite to base where you are, and it'll switch between the two automatically based off of things like the weather, how, like if you're in like real deep kind of like canyons where GPS might be difficult to reach. We have dual banded GPS, which makes those kind of things easier. But as we know, like satellite can be interrupted by multiple different things. So using that kind of combination of the two with fused alti allows the watch to keep a constant update of where you are from an altitude perspective based off of both barometric and GPS combined, which is pretty neat. And again, it is something that's incredibly important to people out on the mountains.
I can hear all the geeks rubbing their hands together, all of that chat today, whereas Cathy and I are just gawping and looking like, oh, this is mind blowing. How do the witches do that in a watch?
Well, no, because you can actually translate. There's a brilliant little feature where when you plot your route, it will show you've got an instant graphic of your ascent and descent as well, which is brilliant, because you can be going along and you're like, oh, okay, I'm just going to keep something in reserve because I know what's coming, or I know now I've done all this climb up from here on.
It's all downhill.
The rest of my day, yeah. So you can adapt your pace, you can adapt your food intake, you can check your timing and all sorts using that, which is an absolutely super feature. And I haven't got into next level stuff. I'm assuming you can download all of that kind of information as well. And so I know when Paul got his very first Suunto watch out on his first trip, they'd been out on a trip to Morocco doing ridges that weren't in any guidebooks, and then finished it off with a trip up Toubkal. And when they got back, his friend John came back and just like created all these amazing graphs of all the ascent and everything that they'd done, and it was just like a visual representation of the amount of ascent and descent that they've done over the week, and it was fascinating. I mean, it's not the sort of thing that I can envisage myself sitting down doing, but when you sort of get to see that trip sort of manifested and all that up and down, it's really interesting. But definitely the graphic I find very helpful just to plan my day. I can work out, I can read a map and I can work out from contour lines what the day is going to look like, but actually just being able to see that visual is much more immediate, and it's very easy to respond to.
Yeah, and that's sorry, Wayne. I was just going
to say it's all in the app. No,
yes,
I was going to do a sales pitch for the app because I think it's absolutely fantastic. Sorry, Dan. Yeah, go on.
No, we were on the same wavelength there, Wayne.
Yeah.
So that's a feature that you mentioned, Cathy, that we call climb guidance, and like I say, whether you're a hiker or a trail runner, that can be incredibly important for mapping out where you want to put your effort in. And we especially have a lot of our trail racers that are racing things like UTMB, that they will use that to make sure that they're spreading their effort across the right parts of the course. And we've just had UTMB in Snowdonia over this last weekend, where we had the winner of the 50k in the men's race, and then the winner of the 100k in the female race. both using our watches. One was using vertical, one was using the race. But it's a feature that you can have, especially if you're new to an area. There's nothing worse than getting to what you think is the top of a peak to then turn around the corner of a trail and see another peak that you have to climb. And just having that kind of simple information on your watch to know what's coming up. And like you say, if you're struggling with fueling or you're maybe feeling a little bit tired, you know that you can ease back a little bit, knowing that there's then going to be some downhills. And I think the most useful thing I find that for is if I'm in a new area that I don't know and I'm heading out for just like an easy 5 or 10K run. I can plot that route out really easily and know whether it actually is going to be easy or whether I'm going to end up running at the side of a mountain. And yeah, when I was at Kendal Mountain Festival last year, I plotted a little route to do a bit of a speed session as part of my marathon training. And yeah, if I'd have just gone out the door and ran, I'd have found myself pretty much running up the side of a fell very quickly, and yeah, my speed session would have been over. So it's incredibly useful. And you mentioned around data. So our app is powered by Training Peaks, which is one of the biggest training platforms on the planet. From whether you're a marathon runner, a cyclist, or a hiker, the amount of data that you can get from that is far beyond what I need it for in my day to day. But like you say, there'll be some kind of like data geeks out there that will want to know everything from their VO2 max to blood oxygen, elevation, and all those kind of stats that we love to sit and kind of analyze afterwards. And I think, like you say, around like mapping out your route, you get a really nice 3D flyover of where you've been at the end of an activity. And that also translates across into our Suunto Ocean, which is our pinnacle dive product, where you actually get a 3D map of where you've been diving, so you can see how far down you've gone. Wow. And kind of the route around, whether it's a shipwreck or whatever it is you're diving. It's really, really cool to look back and have a look at that kind of 3D map of where you've been swimming or diving. And I even found that cool just doing a recent dive in a pool. Like I'm not a diver, but just being able to see how far down I'd gone and kind of, yeah, the little map that it then showed up, I found, yeah, just a really, really cool feature.
Awesome. You did mention that you had two of your athletes taking medals in the UTS last weekend. We do, I feel, really just need to give a nod of appreciation, massive kudos to the lady who won the 100 kilometers. Dan, can you just tell me what you told me the other day? I know she's actually getting quite famous on social media now, but I mean, it's an incredible story.
Yes, so yeah, the girl in question that we're talking about is a girl called Stephanie Case. She's a Canadian that's based in Chamonix, but married to a British person. So yeah, UTS for her was a big kind of goal race. And over the last 3 years, she's not been racing as an elite athlete. She's been going through miscarriages and IVF to try and get pregnant. And thankfully now she's been successful and has a beautiful little daughter, Pepper, who's 6 months old. And she lined up at UTS as her first race back. Because of her lack of racing across the 3 years, she didn't have an elite start. So she started in wave 3, which was the final wave, and some half an hour behind the elites that she would normally be towing the line with. So not only had she not raced, she was racing a course that she'd not really recce'd, because she's got a daughter to look after. And she's also a human rights lawyer, so spends a lot of time traveling around to various different war zones. And so has an incredibly important job alongside trying to be an athlete and a mother. And yeah, she actually went on to win the 100K race, and which was absolutely mind-blowing when you consider the fact she was also breastfeeding Pepper at I think it was 4 different aid stations throughout the route. So a quite mind-blowing kind of achievement. And like you say, she's definitely blowing up on social media. And outside of being an athlete, she's doing an incredible job in telling kind of her experience of going through trying to become a mum and pregnancy and all the ups and downs that can that process can throw at not just a woman but the like kind of extended family as well. And I think one thing that I absolutely loved that she said when we first started speaking to her is that she said she hates it when people refer to it as a comeback, because she was like, I'm not trying to go back to the woman that I was before being a mum. It's a continuation of her journey. And I think she's doing a really, really nice thing in trying to tell the everyday person that, and in her words, she kind of said it's not always rainbows and bunny rabbits. Like you can come back to racing and it not be successful. And as much as her story's been a positive one off the back of UTS, she's also doing an amazing job of telling the story of the everyday person that may then struggle with getting back to everyday life. And yeah, she's an incredible spokesperson for trail running. She's somebody that we're going to hopefully continue working long term with from a brand perspective. And she's also looking at through her human rights work is looking to get refugee girls into trail running as an outlet to kind of escape some of the tragedy that they faced. So all round, I think it's fair to say she's a bit of a superwoman and is rightly getting the kudos that she deserves across socials, not just for winning, but in the manner that she won. So yeah, if you just jump onto Instagram and type in Stephanie Case, I think her handle's the Ultra Runner Girl, and give her a follow. Yeah, I'm sure this won't be the last we see of her on a podium, and yeah, having a little pepper, kind of. She said that at the aid station, her most important feeding was making sure her daughter had everything, not necessarily herself. So yeah, an incredible woman, and like you say, Cathy deserves the kudos.
Yeah, big time, big time. My jaw was hitting the floor when you were telling me, and I checked her out online, and sure enough, the numbers are increasing rapidly. But just a fantastic story and another kind of affirmation of the importance of Suunto and the company's much broader ethos and wider ethos as a whole, I thought. And I think the other thing that I've found, just sort of going back to product as well, is on the training side of things. And Stephanie will be exactly right, continuing her journey with her new body into to see what she can do next. And that's for all of us, and using training, I think, for whether you're just out doing a couch to 5K or whether you are actually training for a major event, embracing a watch as part of that is actually really helpful and ridiculously easy. One of the things I've really enjoyed is my watch just linked to Strava very, very easily. It was really straightforward, and it just updates automatically. You know, I don't need to worry about that now, and I can just go back in, and I've got all those stats there on the app. I kind of keep banging on about how easy it is to use, but I am a Luddite, and it really is easy.
Yeah, I think as we all know, like Strava is such an important application for both the running, the cycling, the hiking world. It's kind of the social part that we all love to go in and see what training our friends have been doing. And Strava is just one of over 300 partner apps that we can connect with, whether it's things like Commute, whether it's like you have a stride pod for measuring your foot cadence. We have a lot of partners in the space, and again, just trying to make it easy for people to connect up. As kind of like the famous saying goes, if it's not on Strava, it didn't happen. And yeah, we find that people want to be able to upload and connect across multiple different apps. And yeah, we're kind of in a continuous conversation with, as a new app comes up, we will always work with them to try and connect up our respective APIs and make that journey as simple as possible. And I think one thing that's great for me to hear from your side, Cathy, is just how easy our product is to use. I think to some people, tech can be incredibly overwhelming and kind of difficult to understand or difficult to connect up on the surface. But once you get a product and start having a little play around, you find it is very, very easy. It's just a case of downloading the Suunto app, connecting your watch up, and it essentially then takes care of the rest of it itself. And I think having little things like tracking your sleep, tracking your active calories, tracking your daily steps is just a nice little way to keep on top of your body and the health of your body. And you will get alerts if you're overtraining. I always like when I go onto the app and it says I'm keeping fit or I'm improving fitness. But for somebody who runs a lot, kind of recreationally, it's also great to see if I'm getting close to that overtraining part, and if there's areas of my life that I can dial in a little bit, especially when it comes to sleep. in a world where it's difficult to get off devices and get an early night's sleep and get those 8 hours that everyone talks about. It's nice to be able to just quickly look on the app, or I get the notification every morning that tells me how much sleep I've had, and kind of seeing all of those factors work together and give you a really simple, just one liner of you're keeping fit, you're overtraining, or you're undertraining is just a nice, easy way of keeping a track of things.
I think that the HRV, heart rate variance or variability, is it? That's been
Variability,
a
yeah.
really interesting one for me personally when I've been feeling a bit rough or something, and my HRV's all over the place. And a couple of my mates have said that with their wearable tech as well. It's been interesting to see, right, something's not right then. So because they pull back on the training a little bit, and sure enough, there's been a like a low level virus or something like that, and it's all coming through the heart rate stuff. So that it's an important piece to have, isn't it?
Yeah, like you say, heart rate variability is great at kind of noticing that you're getting ill before you get ill. You can start to see that spike. And I think the interesting thing with heart rate variability is it's very much like a fingerprint. You can't really compare yours to someone else's, like your number's very particular to you. And again, it's just a nice little data source where if you do see a little spike, like you tend to see a spike if you've maybe overindulged on alcohol over the weekend. You can kind of see the effect that then has on your body, and makes it quite easy to kind of make a different decision the next time the bottle of wine comes out. But like you say,
no, in my case, Dan. Sorry, I've never learned. No, it's like, yeah, it's Friday. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, but yeah. I think like you say, from being aware of how your body reacts to training, especially, and then if you are coming down with an illness, it's really, really good and really simple to see that kind of get picked up by your watch. So as much as we will never say it's going to replace proper medicine and kind of going to see your GP, it can sometimes be an indicator of like, oh, okay, maybe I need to take a couple of easy days or get a little bit more sleep or rest. So yeah, having that kind of stat at your fingertips is great.
Yeah, it is.
One of my favourite features, sorry, Wayne, this has actually really kind of elicited a little bit of competition actually amongst the staff, is your training age or your athletic age. You can go on and your watch will tell you how young it thinks you are.
Yeah, that's something that people love to compare, and
I'm off on the app. Hang on a minute. Hang on, I hadn't noticed that bit. Yeah, sorry, Dan.
Yeah, it's something that people love to compare, and it's kind of become a little bit of a flex where you can go, oh, okay, well, yes, I'm 35, but my actual
36. Yeah. I'm happy with that.
I think my training age is I think something like 21. So yeah, I like to walk around thinking I'm a 21-year-old. But
you massive show off, Dad. You massive show off.
It's a nice bit of fun to have, and again, it's just an indicator. Like it gives you a bit of a target. Like if you're even if you're not training for a race or something, just kind of your general day-to-day fitness, it's nice to keep a track of. And if there's little things that you can adjust in your day, like even if it's just getting a little bit more sleep, then starts to have a little bit of an effect on your training age. And it's quite nice to see that slowly come down.
Yeah, awesome. I honestly hadn't noticed that bit before. I've just scrolled down. So I'm allegedly keeping fit at the moment with a fitness age of 36. So I've just had a big birthday, Dan, so we won't go into what that was. But
nice.
it was a long way off 36. So anyway, it's so I'm more than happy with that anyway. Oh,
nice.
cracking. Yeah, cool. Sorry, completely lost the plot, and Cathy's gone quiet for some reason. I think she was howling with laughter.
The staff like occasionally sidle in, and it's like, what's your athletic age?
Yeah. Brilliant. You need a competition board, don't you, in the shop of to get it going. Like, what's the biggest difference between your actual age and your
Yeah, you get extra points for the biggest difference. Definitely, yeah. It's not just who's youngest.
No, exactly, yeah. So I've completely lost the plot on where we're up to in chat now, and whether we need.
Well, I think being as we're finding all these features and scrolling through our watches, which are dead easy to use with your fingertip, and I think if you have there's a technical term for gloves, isn't there? That they just transmit the electricity so that you can continue to use your electronic devices. even with gloves on, which works really well as well. But the watches obviously are designed for longevity, but their straps are probably one of their weaker areas, just because of simple usage. What if you require a new strap, or if you require a repair on your watch? What happens when things don't go quite to plan with your Suunto watch, Dan?
Yeah, and I think it's absolutely worth pointing out that as much as our products are made to be as durable as possible, that accidents happen. And yeah, I actually saw one of our kind of brand ambassadors actually fell on his trail run this morning and did some pretty hefty damage to his knees and elbows. But it was nice to see that his watch remained intact with having things like sapphire glass that's ultra scratch resistant. We try and make it built for the environment, but like you say, sometimes things do go wrong, and that's kind of one of the features of tech, I guess, is that you're sometimes at mercy of the software itself. And there will always be, no matter how good of a product you are, there will always be the odd bug that needs fixing. And I think in the UK, one thing that we're blessed with is a UK-based service centre. So within our warehouse that's down in Hampshire, we have a service technician that if you do have a problem with your watch, you can send it back to us. You can pick the phone up. We have a WhatsApp a chat that you can message, and you're in direct contact then with somebody in our office. We're only a small team in the UK. There's only 6 of us. And we kind of pride ourselves on being really easy to contact. You're not going to be talking to a chat bot, and you can send your watch back, and we will always endeavour to repair it instead of replacing it. Like we say, we want our watches to last, and whether you need a battery replacement or whether there's been maybe an issue with how the barometer's reading, we will always endeavour to repair that, to save you having to go out and spend kind of the hard-earned money on a replacement. So, and then our watches they're a quick release 22 mm strap, so really easy to replace. I switch out mine all the time. I have a leather strap, so if I'm going to a wedding, I can like posh. I can make sure it's matching my suit, and I look posh and not like I'm wearing a sports watch. But then also I like to mix and match the colours depending on what kit I'm wearing on race day, and just having that really easy quick release. You can just unpin it and clip it in. It takes seconds. Kind of allows you to update your watch continuously. And if you have caught your strap on a branch, or if you've taken a tumble, you don't need to go out and buy a whole new watch. You can just buy a strap quite easily and get that replaced. So yeah, our watches are pretty indestructible. But like we say, we do occasionally have a software bug. We keep everything updated as much as we can, and there's a tech team that are always working on kind of versions of updates. And again, that will just come through as a notification on your watch that there's an update available, and it will update in kind of a matter of minutes. So it's really easy to keep on top of. Not something that you need to keep a constant check on, but something we as a company will make sure we are constantly refreshing and keeping our watches up to date. And I think we have a turnaround time of pretty much under a week when it comes to a repair. And we can even send out loan units as well. We've had it before where a diver has been going on a kind of a 2 week dive trip, and they've maybe left it a little at last minute to check whether they got everything they need from a kit perspective, and realize that there's maybe a small issue on their watch. They will send the watch back to us, and if we can't return that ahead of their holiday, we'll send them a demo replacement so they can still record everything they need on a trip. And then when they return from that trip, we can then kind of continue on with the repair of their kind of their own personal watch. So we try and be really easy to deal with as a company. We have multiple different ways that we can fix things, and again, it all plays into the sustainability message of wanting to keep our product on your wrist for as long as possible. And yeah, we always love it when somebody comes up and says, "Oh, I've had this for 15 years and it's still working fine." And or we hear people that have had kind of a great bit of service from our service technician, and a watch has got back to them in kind of 2 or 3 days, and it's meant they've not had to go without it for a long period of time. So it's definitely something we pride ourselves on in the UK, is that level of service. And yeah, hopefully that's again, when it comes to a buying decision, that plays into people's kind of conscience as when they're making a purchase.
Awesome. And I've just, I was just looking at my watch strap while you were talking and going, oh, I'd never noticed how easy that was before. So I'll have to go and get a leather strap for my watch. So it looks like, yeah. No. And you've got a nice shiny one on yours as well, Cathy, haven't you? Have you got?
I've got my one that it came with. Yeah.
Is
yeah.
that? Oh, see, mine's just black. It's black watch strap anyway. So yeah. We are just fans, aren't we?
We are.
It's not. It's not. No. Yeah. I don't mean it's not as though we've got free watches or anything. It is. I absolutely love this. It is brilliant. It is a brilliant piece of kit that I use all the time. It's wherever I am.
We bought our watches with our own money. We did.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I mean, in all honesty, I probably still wouldn't have one, but for the fact one of my colleagues on the Cape Wrath Trail bought one to use with a GPX file that was given to us so that we could follow a route, and she had such an easy time using it. There was 3 of us doing the trip, and 2 of us came back and got one because we were so impressed. So
Nice.
it's super user friendly. And you did mention battery. I mean, if I'm not using mine particularly, it takes it's ages before I have to recharge it, and it's recharged very quickly. And my husband's got the solar version as well, and he often looks down, he's like, oh, it's dead. Oh right, when was the last time I charged it?
Yeah, and kind of across our range. So I guess if I talk a little bit to the range from an outdoor perspective, and I know your audience may not be particularly interested in the dive side of things, so we'll focus on outdoor. It's really categorized or split into 2 different categories. We have our adventure category and our performance category. And in the adventure category, we have our vertical, which comes in a couple of different options. We have the steel version, we have a titanium version, and then there's also the solar version, like you mentioned. And that really is our kind of hero product from a longevity standpoint. It uses what's called a MIP screen, which is slightly less bright compared to an AMOLED screen in our performance watches. And the reason for that really is that a MIP screen is less of a drain on battery. So you're getting a huge amount of battery life on a vertical. And then if you have the solar version, if you're in good solar conditions, that it actually was in North Wales last week for UTS. But if you're in great solar conditions, that can help reduce the battery drain by around 30%. So it's that really is our kind of pinnacle when it comes to multi-daying, like long-term hiking. And Stephanie, that we mentioned before, that won the 100K, she was wearing our vertical, and I think she finished in just under 17 hours. And when she looked at her watch, she was still on 68% battery, and that was in full GPS mode. So I guess in its least efficient mode. But you can dial that up and down during an activity. If you notice that the battery's starting to drain a little bit, you can flick it into enduro mode or tour mode, and you'll get much longer battery life from that. So and then going into our performance range, like I mentioned, they use an AMOLED screen, which is a little bit more like your kind of iPhone screen, really vibrant, really easy to read. And that is a little bit more of a drain on the battery. But the Race and the Race S are our 2 kind of performance watches. Both in essence are the same watch. The Race S just stands for smaller. It has a 45mm screen size. I know that's the one you're wearing, Cathy, compared to the 49mm. And we really brought the Race S out to really kind of land with that smaller wrist market. Like, I have tiny wrists. A lot of our female market have smaller wrists, and just find that 49mm watch a little bit too big for day-to-day use. So yeah, the Race and Race S use AMOLED screens. You will get around 35 hours of battery life out of the Race S, and then up to 50 hours in the Race. And again, you can dial that down a little bit. Like if I take an example now, I've got my watch on, it's on 40%. If I was to do an activity now using its least efficient mode, I would still get 12 hours of continuous activity. And I can just really simply go down into exercise options and then battery mode. And if I flick that down to tour mode, I'll get 48 hours of continuous activity. And that switches off things like heart rate monitoring. You'll lose the map, but you kind of keep like the main elements of tracking. So it's nice, and a lot of people kind of like that peace of mind that if they're out on the trails and they're starting to see their battery dip, they can flick the performance of that battery really at a touch of a button. And when we spoke earlier on around like the key features for us as a brand, it's things like battery life and mapping that people deem as the most important thing, and it's the one thing that we really focus on to make sure is absolutely industry leading and kind of the absolute best it can be in our product before we then focus on some of the other features. So yeah, across the range from vertical down to race S, you're getting exceptional battery life across all of the products.
Fantastic. And actually really handy that you just explained the range there, Dan, because we're actually working together at the moment on a fantastic competition called Kanchenjunga 8586, and the prize for the competition is your choice of any Suunto watch. So it's an amazing prize. It's all come about because it's the 70th anniversary of Joe Brown climbing Kanchenjunga and becoming, along with George Band, the first Britons to climb above 8,000 meters in 1955. And that record stayed until 1975 when Doug Scott and Dougal Haston climbed Everest. So it's a huge achievement of the time. We've been following the expedition on real time across our socials, and we've got a history piece on our blog page now as well. And it's we're asking people to spend probably best part of the summer, so from now until the 30th of August, so lots of time, to ascend 8586 meters and hop onto our blog page or onto our partners UK Climbing or UK Hill Walking, and you can get the full details of that competition to enter into a prize draw and also to claim your free Sew On patch to commemorate the 70 years anniversary of such an amazing ascent. So lots to get involved with. The whole point is just to get outside and have fun, very much in the ethos of Suunto, as you explained, Dan. Obviously, we love our customers going out and doing great stuff and telling us what they're doing and how they're going on about it. So there's all the information is available on our blog. In fact, if you just search Kanchenjunga 8586 competition on your favorite search engine, all the information.
If you just search what?
Will come up. Yeah. Okay, let me just spell that. That's probably better,
sorry.
isn't it?
It was like I can't pronounce it, let alone spell it. Sorry, Kathy.
We did discover there's 30 different ways of spelling
or
pronouncing
indeed,
Kanchenjunga, didn't we? So Kang is the all important letter there. Chenjunga. Kanchenjunga 8586 competition, and you will find all the information available. We've got posters in the shops, and we'll have headers on our website homepage as well from the 25th of May when that all kicks off. But for now, I'm totally geeked out. In fact, I'm really looking forward to going out on a run and finding some even more features on my watch now. But thanks so much for joining us, Dan, and for your time and expertise. That was brilliant.
Yeah, no, you're very welcome. Dan. It's it's great to be involved with everybody at Joe Brown's and the climbing shops. I think we're a company that stands for adventure, and that very much aligns to you guys. And I think the competition's super exciting, and will hopefully inspire people to go out and find their own adventures. And whether they're tracking that on a watch or using the humble map and compass, we hope that people have a great time. And we look forward to looking through some of the entries, and who knows, there could be a nice shiny vertical or race S heading to somebody's wrist at the end of the summer.
Awesome. Amazing. So you can check out the outdoor range of Suunto watches at our website, which is www.climbers-shop.com, and we also have a world of extra information online for people to access at Joe Brown Outdoor Academy, and that is found by searching joebrownoutdooracademy.com.